Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Broadcasting from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing on WCPTA 20, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Welcome to The Gaily Show, the only daily LGBTQ progressive radio news and talk show in the United States. I'm your host, John Parker. My executive producer, Jim Pounds, was having technical problems. Jim, if you want to call 952-946-6205, we can figure that out for you. He is remote today. What is on the show today? First, a programming note. This Friday here in Minneapolis is the National Coming Out Day Luncheon. And the Gaily Show is going to have a special broadcast from the luncheon from 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m., which means that we will be preempting the final half hour of the Stephanie Miller Show and the first half hour of the Thom Hartmann Show. So just be aware that that is happening. You can tune in to this special show. We're going to have the LGBTQ hosts. So Philip Anthony from the Downright Upright Show, Ellie Krug from the Legal Trans Woman, and myself. We're going to be talking about coming out and the meaning of that. And then we're going to have attendees coming up to the table and sharing part of their own coming out stories. So you can tune in for that special broadcast. It starts at 10:30 a.m. on Friday. For folks here in Minneapolis, we'll be preempting the final half hour of the Stephanie Miller Show and the first half hour of the Thom Hartmann Show. For folks in Chicago, this means absolutely nothing to you. But you can tune in if you go to am950radio.com or use the TuneIn Radio app, or you can go, those will be the main areas that you can listen to us if you are in Chicago. In the second half hour of today, David Russo will join us to discuss the premier conference of LGBTQ doctors happening in Minneapolis. It's happening here this weekend. It's the GLMA conference. It's annual, but coming at a crucial time of the year as the Trump administration for the past 10 months has been slashing LGBTQ healthcare everywhere that it can, from research to policymaking to the practicing of LGBTQ healthcare. Plus, in the show, what does free speech even mean anymore? MAGA wants free speech, and yet they want to cancel Bad Bunny, the Super Bowl performance that has been announced last week. And then comedians are criticizing the Trump administration's attack on free speech in the United States, but they're doing so from Saudi Arabia at a comedy festival where they're cashing big checks from the Saudi government, the same government that kills journalists for exercising free speech. I'm confused. Later on in the show, we'll also talk about how the left lost the media war. MAGA owns the majority of media in the United States, from major corporations to local TV and radio stations. So now what? But first, the Supreme Court heard oral arguments on Tuesday in a case where a Christian counselor has sued the state of Colorado because they banned conversion therapy. She claims this is a violation of her First Amendment rights. And today in oral arguments, the majority of the Supreme Court seems ready to accept that argument, which means that they would strike down state bans on conversion therapy. Now, I want to be very clear here. I worked in LGBTQ health equity for 3 years. Conversion therapy does not work. I'll say that again. Conversion therapy does not work. Every single accredited medical body, after decades of research, has concluded that you cannot convert an LGBTQ person into a heterosexual person. It cannot be done. And when I say decades of research, I'm saying we're going back to the early 1900s when doctors suddenly thought, well, we have this whole thing of science. We have all of these new chemicals. We have electroshock therapy. We have talk therapy. We can make this happen. We can convert queer people into straight people. We can convert trans people into cisgender people. No. As it turns out, didn't work. Didn't work at all. What did work, though, is that it led to adults and kids self-harming. It led to adults and kids abusing alcohol and drugs. It led to kids and adults taking their own lives. That's what we got from conversion therapy. So today, the Supreme Court, this so-called therapist in Colorado, Kaylee Childs, is claiming that the ban in Colorado is violating her First Amendment right to provide Christian conversion therapy to kids. Colorado is arguing that it is within the state's power to license medical providers, including therapists, saying that as a licensed provider, you cannot provide medicine and treatments that harms your patients. And here is where the majority of the Supreme Court is. I don't. You might be at home right now or in your car or whatever, and you're going to think, "Oh God, you're being hyperbolic. This isn't helping the conversation." I believe this is evil. If we look at the definition of evil to mean you knowingly know that what you are doing is going to harm people, you're ignoring evidence to the contrary, and you go ahead, that to me, in my world, in John Parker's world, in John Parker's editorial viewpoint, is evil. And here is where it comes into play. Here's how the Supreme Court is going to get there. They're saying, because this isn't surgery and this isn't treatment by drugs, this is talk therapy. And other therapists are talking to their clients who are children about how to overcome depression and anxiety and other mental health conditions because they're being forced to live in a homophobic and transphobic world. But because it is talking, that means this is a free speech issue. So ignore the medical research. Ignore the fact that you have to go through academic medical training. Just focus on the fact that you are talking. And because they're talking, Justice Samuel Alito said today that this Colorado law is blatant viewpoint discrimination. And the evil continues with Justice Gorsuch, who tried to make the wild argument that this law outlawing conversion therapy, aka anti-LGBTQ therapy, could have been used to outlaw pro-LGBTQ therapy in the 1950s. I mean, I don't even understand that argument. Grasping at straws. And the evil continues with Justice Amy Coney Barrett. She said that, well, let's just strike down the law. And if there is any harm from the conversion therapy, then the patient can just sue for malpractice. I mean, what reality are we living in here? They know it doesn't work. I know they know that doesn't work because they are getting a copious amounts of information from the state of Colorado, from organizations that are providing amicus briefs to the court. They've got the data. They know it doesn't work. They know it causes harm. And I'm so angry about this because this has been their plan, right? MAGA, Trump, the GOP. I have been living in this world of this party and these anti-LGBTQ people trying to harm me my entire life. And I know I'm not alone. They have been after me since 1981. But where I'm most angry today, right now, top of my list, are every single, oh God, I'm trying not to swear here so badly. Every single Democrat and independent and centrist and moderate who refused to reform the Supreme Court. President Biden had the opportunity to fix this. He commissioned a study early in his term, and then he buried it. He waited until he dropped out of the race to say anything about Supreme Court reform. You didn't want to pack the court. You didn't want to implement any rules on them. Kids are going to die because of you. Kids are going to start abusing substances because of you, because you wanted to take the intellectual argument of, oh, well, you know, if we start adding things to the courts, justices of the court, then they're going to start doing it. The court is its own equal branch of government. No, they're not. Not the way they're acting right now. I am so angry right now. I can't even. This is like letting your kid die of measles because you don't want to give them the vaccine. Evil. If you are a parent right now thinking, oh, I can get my kid to change their gender identity or change their sexuality, despite knowing all of the evidence to the contrary, oh, I'm just not going to believe that. Evil. I don't even know how to come off of this right now. I'm just, obviously you can tell that I'm really upset and I want to scream, and I've been screaming into this microphone. And if I don't do that, I'm just going to curl up into a ball and start crying because I'm so frustrated with this country. And I'm so frustrated with people, with centrists and moderates and liberals and leftists who don't want to do anything to fix the court. I've got to take a break here. And yeah, I don't even, this is a, here's a transition. And I want to go there right now just to get out of town to travel to Marquette County in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, because this is exactly what happens when this BS is happening. I want to get out of town and have a long weekend where I don't have to worry about being queer. I can just be in a blue city in a blue county with an active pride organization and just be with good restaurants and connect in nature and refill my cup, which is something that I'm going to have to do. And thank God I'm going to be there next week because I absolutely need it right now. And I'm so grateful that they're there. And I'm so, so very grateful that they're partnering with us as a travel partner. You should check out travelmarquette.com to start your adventure and just to get out of town and recenter yourself. You're listening to The Gailey Show. We'll be right back.
Located just north of 50th in France, the Great Wall Restaurant has provided a delicious taste of authentic Chinese cuisine since 1981. Specializing in Szechuan and Peking dishes, they offer one of the most extensive menus in the Twin Cities. Favorites include hot and sour soup, pan-fried dumplings, and mushu pork with homemade Chinese pancakes. Stop by their Edina location or call for takeout at 952-927-4439. See the full menu at greatwallrestaurant.us.
This is no bedtime story. It's Treasure Island, a thrilling stage adventure packed with sword fights, secrets, and the lure of buried gold. Join young Jim Hawkins and the infamous Long John Silver as they set sail on a journey where trust is tested and danger lurks behind every wave. Live on stage at Children's Theatre Company, September 9th through October 19th. Tickets at childrenstheatre.org.
Hi, this is Frank Brown of Minuteman Press Uptown with a question for our listeners. How important are business values to you? When you need high-quality digital print, it matters who you work with. You see, Minuteman Uptown is unique. We're one of the only union print shops in Minnesota providing our team with living wages and benefits. We believe in second chances for justice-impacted individuals who want to contribute to the community, and we are active in local issues. We've been in the streets standing up for racial, social, and economic justice. At Minuteman Uptown, our mission is to connect all communities through technology-driven print solutions. An example of that mission is when I moved Minuteman Uptown to North Minneapolis. We're invested in this local community, and we help small businesses.
Oh, there's David.
All right, guys, as a heads up as we test, this is still
can't
going
hear
over
anything,
YouTube
but
right
that's
now.
all
We're
right.
just not on the
Can
radio.
you hear me, Jim? We can hear you.
Let's see if he gets his headphones on. If he
Can you hear us now?
No luck?
Unplug. I don't know how to explain it to him. I can't be any more clear. We can hear you, Jim. We can hear you.
But he can't hear us. Okay. Nothing? Can't hear us?
Jim. Put it in the... I left him with all this.
No, they're plugged in. That's all right. Have a good
Unplug
interview.
them. Unplug
Have a
them.
good interview.
Unplug them, Jim.
Oh, he just wanted on. Yeah. Well, we got to probably send it back. We're about 15 seconds away.
Okay.
Is David on the coming up next?
No, David's at 2:30.
All right, sounds good.
Find the fire that works for you. Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces. Out of the ordinary products and services since 1977.
Welcome back to the Gailey Show. I am John Parker. We are coming up on the bottom of the hour. I may be adding my executive producer, Jim Pounds. Can you hear us, Jim? Nope, can't hear us. Okay, I don't know what technical difficulties we were having there, but we will still try to get him on here. I am going to switch gears here now because obviously I am still upset about what the Supreme Court is doing, but I want to talk about some media here. There was a great article a few weeks ago about from MSNBC actually that was taking a look at media ownership in the United States and how we used to have a majority of our there was a law. It was from the 1930s. It was called the Communications Act, and it limited how many TV stations and radio stations and newspapers that a company could own, right? And then it was amended in 1953 for the rule of sevens, right? That a company couldn't own more than 7 AM stations, 7 FM stations rather, and 7 TV stations, and the combination of that could not reach more than 25% of Americans. And then during Ronald Reagan's presidency, he, deregulation. Then it became 12, 12, 12. You can own as a company, you can own 12 AM stations, you can own 12 FM stations, you can own 12 TV stations. And then the 1996 Communications Act passed by Republican Congress, signed by Democratic President Bill Clinton, got rid of all of that for radio station ownership completely. You can own as many radio stations as you want. And you can own TV ownership, as many of them as you can, up to 35% of all of the households. In 1983, 90% of American media was owned by 50 media companies. 50. By 2012, that number was down to 6. And now with Paramount Viacom, the merger, that number is going down to 5. 5 companies deciding what we can watch, what we can listen to. And it leads the way to now you see these major digital platforms as well in the tech sector being owned by a small amount of people, right? Facebook owns Threads, owns Instagram, owns WhatsApp. Google owns YouTube. Amazon owns Twitch. It's getting to the point where the ownership of tech and the ownership of the media is also increasingly in the hands of MAGA and pro-Trump, or at the very least, pro-Trump owners. With TikTok now, there's going to be a consortium, which is basically going to be the Ellisons, are going to own 80% of TikTok. So we're going to go from the Chinese government having access to the algorithm and collecting all the data about us to now MAGA collecting all of that data and monitoring us. And we saw what Elon Musk did with Twitter, where he turned it just into a cesspool of MAGA discourse. Now, so far, Nexstar and Sinclair Broadcasting, they were the ones that put up the whole thing. Oh, we're not going to play Jimmy Kimmel anymore. Try to get him off of the air. We know that whole story. But there's nothing stopping them from doing it again, impacting hundreds of millions of people of what they're going to be able to see or not see. So there's something that we need to see, and I know this sounds very wonky. I know it's very wonky, and I know I'm a nerd and I'm a policy wonk, but we need a 21st century communications act that is going to break up these media companies. Do we go back to the rule of 12, 12, and 12? I don't know. Do we go back to the rule of 7, 7, 7? I don't know. They can figure that out. What we need to be demanding is this needs to be broken up at the very least. And we're not just radio stations and TV stations, because MAGA, I can't tell you how many times that I'm telling people about this show and that I work, that it broadcasts from AM 950 and that we're on WCPT. And people are like, wait a minute, I didn't even know there were progressive radio stations on AM. Because the right bought them all up. And they shouldn't have them all. And then they rebranded as iHeartMedia. Right. So now we're thinking that, oh, it's some neutral organization that owns all these radio stations. No, that's what iHeart is. Just rebranded. We need to be breaking up these media companies. And I say that also as somebody who I worked in broadcast television. I worked for a local NBC affiliate in Michigan. I worked for a local Fox affiliate in Michigan. And these organizations, particularly the tiny ones, are very influenced by whatever corporate is going to do. Sinclair sends out op-eds to their anchors and tells them, you will read these on air. It's bonkers. So when we talk about this, the two words, Communications Act. We need a new Communications Act. We need to repudiate what President Clinton and the Republicans did in the 1990s. We need to repudiate what Reagan did in the 1980s. And particularly for LGBTQ people, we're seeing the Supreme Court, we're seeing all of MAGA going, well, it's our free speech. We shouldn't have to talk about LGBTQ stuff. It is a very short leap right now from these media companies saying that, oh, well, I don't want to air any shows that have abortion in them. I shouldn't be forced to air on my TV stations or my radio stations anything about LGBTQ people. Jim, you're on the phone. Executive producer. Is it Jim or is it a different Jim?
Yep, this is Jim.
This is Jim.
It's your Jim.
It's my Jim. Your thoughts?
Well, I heard what you said about iHeart, and I just want to correct a little bit of that. iHeart owns hundreds of radio stations, or dozens certainly, and they are of a variety of formats. Some music, and yes, they do have some right wing.
iHeart was Clear Channel. Clear Channel bought up all of the AM radio stations, and then they rebranded themselves as iHeart.
Right, but iHeart as a public entity represents a lot of stations that are not right-wing talk. They do have some right-wing talk, but they have, every other form of music and format also. So I just didn't want people to think that they were exclusively that. They are a huge mechanism for the right wing, of course, and I think they are right-wing. I think they are. I don't disagree with you at all. That's what capitalism calls for.
Oh, Jim, I gotta break. I gotta hit a break. I'm sorry. More with the Gaylor Show when we come back.
Hey, Minnesota, it's Brad Friedman, host of the Bradcast. We'll expose all the latest schemes, frauds, and more. Weeknights at 7 on AM 950.
He's greedy. He's scrumptious. He's horrid. Roald Dahl's The Enormous Crocodile the Musical is weaving its way onto the stage at Children's Theater Company beginning October 1st, featuring eye-popping puppets.
David, hello, can you hear me?
Hi, yes. Can you hear me?
I can. I'm so glad you're here because I'm going the show in a completely dark direction. So I'm glad that you're here now. We can turn it around and talk about your excellent conference that you are having this weekend.
Thank you. Yeah, we're super excited to be a part of GLAMA, the Gay and Lesbian Medical Association conference, right in your hometown.
Perfect. Do you also, I wanted to ask you, do you also want to talk about, this is a hot mic, by the way, this is, hi YouTube, you're hearing all of this. Do you want to also talk about Cheeky Charity?
Yeah, I would love to let you know a little bit about the organization and what we're up to. I think they flow together nicely.
Yes, perfect. So maybe we start with the conference and then go into that?
That sounds great.
Perfect. Okay, on the right-hand side of your screen, do you see the private chat?
Stream this to your audience, log in.
Do you see a thing on the right-hand side that says private chat?
Unfortunately, I don't. Oh, private chat. Yes, I do.
Okay, we're gonna have to switch back over to the feed here. So we've got about a couple minutes before but I'll put time cues in there so you know when we're going to be starting.
Okay, that works. I'll keep an eye out for it.
All right, thank you, David.
Thank you.
All right.
See ya.
All right, back on the program feed.
Crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com.
You're listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Hey, it's Mitch, owner of Junk Masters, your local independently owned junk removal team. We are not a franchise, and that means personalized service you can count on. Spring's the season for cleaning out the things you're ready to let go of. Whether it's one item or a full property cleanout, we handle it all, residential or commercial. You just show us what goes. With same-day service, upfront, no-obligation pricing, and a landfill diversion program that prioritizes donating, recycling, and reuse. Visit junkmastersmn.com to learn more.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for sunny skies today with a high near 64, tonight clear with a low around 39, and Wednesday sunny with a high around 65. Crooners is your go-to classic supper club, offering world-class entertainment and 4-star dining. Catch top artists in the main stage showroom, Dunsmore Jazz Room, or outdoors at the Belvedere under the stars. Or stop by Maggie's Lounge where there's no cover and no reservations. Visit croonersmn.com for details.
Coming to you from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Welcome back to the Gailey Show. I'm John Parker. It is 33 minutes after the hour. My executive producer, Jim Pounds, is joining us by phone from secret location on duty. And I am very happy for our next guest. Our next guest is David Russo, who is the visionary behind Cheeky Charity. Inspired by his own health scare at the age of 32, David launched Cheeky Charity to make colorectal cancer a conversation everyone can participate in. David is going to be here in the Twin Cities for the, I'm blanking on the annual number, but it is the GLMA conference, which is an annual premier gathering of LGBTQ doctors. They're going to be here in Minneapolis. I am going to be there with my little press pass this weekend, but I am so happy, David, to welcome you to the Gailey Show.
It's a pleasure to be a part of this. So thank you so much for having me, and excited to share some information.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start with the conference this weekend. Tell us about it.
So yeah, the Gay and Lesbian Medical Association. I also forget how many, what annual, it's the 43rd annual conference, and it brings together an interdisciplinary set of health professionals. So not just doctors, but also students and nurses, public health advocates, and so on. And so I'm going to be attending as part of Cheeky Charity. We are actually partnering with another local Minneapolis organization called Save the Bottoms, which is an anal cancer advocacy organization. And we're doing a panel workshop, the title being Getting Cheeky to Save the Bottoms, LGBTQ plus colorectal and anal cancer prevention, screening, treatment, and survivorship.
That's a title. That's a title. And the theme this year for the conference is unity, action, and progress. And this comes at a critical moment for the United States, because over the past 10 months, we've just seen health research slashed in the hundreds of millions of dollars. We've seen pressure from the current administration, yanking federal funds from healthcare centers and hospital systems if they provide any kind of LGBTQ healthcare that they don't like. Can you talk with us a little bit about the moment that we're seeing ourselves in, given that you're a medical provider and the charity that you run, and then being a part of this conference?
Yeah, I think there's two sides of it. One is like we get to mutually, commiserate and like feel just bad about everything that's going on. It's the most horrendous. It's seemingly the most horrendous situation that we can imagine, and what we're fighting against right now. And there's that component of the conference of bringing together people that are struggling, and then on the other side of it is bringing together people that are fighting and that are figuring out how to survive and how to continue the work that needs to happen. And there's camaraderie, and we just talked on a call before this about how our community is feeling more close-knit than ever. And I've never felt so much of a family kind of vibe among strangers than I have, in the last 6-12 months.
There is something about that. We were recently in Chicago, and it wasn't planned. We just sort of happenstance across the gay beach in Chicago, which apparently that's how gay we are. And even just being at a beach surrounded, like knowing we were surrounded by, LGBTQ people, I'm like, there was just such solace in that, even though we weren't planning on it, but it was like, you're just at a beach, John, like, who cares? I'm like, no, it's just, we're here and we're together. And it just felt very, there was solace in that.
Oh, absolutely. And for LGBTQ focused healthcare providers in particular to all come together, I think I have a lot of high expectations for this conference, and I'm hopeful that they'll be met. But a large part of that is, the coming together and the feeling like we're seeing other people that are going through it. And, it could feel like such a difficult private slog because you're doing the day-to-day, you're not getting that sense of community. And so for us all to come together, I think is going to be an amazing sense of like, it's a boost, an intense energy that will hopefully keep us kicking for a little while longer.
Right. Something else that also happens at the conference, as I understand it, is that people are bringing forward new practices and new research of what's working in the world. Can you talk to us about the conference, annual conference, as a site for innovation and how we're advancing healthcare in the United States?
I can mostly talk to my experience and what we're contributing to the conference. And we're doing a research study. We're sharing information about our practice in terms of outreach to LGBTQ people in a new, innovative way. And I think that that's one of the core purposes of this conference, as you mentioned, to share information that could be leveraged and utilized elsewhere. Both in our direct line of work, like I'm doing colorectal cancer advocacy, but maybe somebody that's doing smoking cessation or another type of outreach can take what we're doing and say, how can I translate that? And there's a tremendous amount of research projects and new data that's coming out that is exciting to have to be promoting at this conference. We all think that like everything is gone, but the reality is that the last 4 years have been inundated with tremendous work for our community, and those results are still coming out. And so there's a lot of very extremely relevant, impactful data and work that we're super excited to learn about. So yeah, I think it's it's gonna be great.
Does the conference like archive all of the like papers and research that will be presented this weekend?
I believe so. Yeah, it's it should be preserved. I think GLMA members especially will have access to all the content and materials for a period after the conference. Yeah, so we'll definitely be holding on to things. And I hope, the hope is that more of the content that's published and promoted at this conference is going to be replicated at other scientific conferences, to continue sharing it on and publishing in various journals, etc.
I know that obviously you're probably looking forward to your own panel and discussion of research. Is there anything that you personally are looking forward to this weekend beyond being just like in community, like any sessions or panels that you know of in advance that you're like, oh, I'm really looking forward to that one?
Yes, so there's a plenary on the unequal burden, LGBTQ plus cancer disparities and promoting equity in oncology. That is a particular exciting session that I'm excited to listen in on. I know actually somebody who's in our workshop, Joel Palevsky, who's one of the leading founders of anal cancer research, especially in HIV positive men, is going to be part of that panel. And he's joining us as well for our panel. And I'm excited to share just information and leverage. And we're actually hoping to bring an inflatable walkthrough colon to the conference during our session. We have a 20-foot walkthrough colon. Yes, we actually bring these colons to Pride events across the country. We've been to about 50 Pride events so far this year, and we can't get them to all of the prides, but as many as we can, we bring this colon, and it's quite the conversation starter, for sure.
I would imagine so. Like, does it bend like a maze? And
no, some of them have a little bit of a curve, but no, not quite the length of like a full-on swerve, like a sigmoid junction at the top of the rectum. It curves around, and eventually we'll get more anatomically correct as we get more funding for these colons.
Wait, so do you like walk inside it?
So yeah, it's about like somewhere between 10 up to like about 20, 25 feet, where you walk through, and it has examples of normal colon tissue, and then it has polyps and various GI issues like ulcerative colitis and Crohn's, and it kind of shows you what they look like getting into cancer, malignant cancer, and metastases and whatnot, so on. So it's not a very healthy colon that you're walking through. It's got some issues, but we tell people that, we've discovered the problems. So that's the first step. And then the second step is treating it.
So they were not cancerous, but I've had a number of polyps taken out. So I've had some fun, the whole colonoscopy thing. I've gotten to be a pro at the whole prep. Let's just say that. But you had, would you mind sharing a little bit of your story? Because it's a little bit more serious than mine was, and that because I want to kind of lead to the founding of your of Cheeky Charity.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And fortunately, it is probably about the same. So I have a family history. I didn't even know I had a family history. When I was 32, I had symptoms. So I had blood in my stool, and I went in, and the doctor said, no, you're a sexually active gay man. It's hemorrhoids, it's fissures, it's something else. And I was like, no, this doesn't feel right. Like I had to push, because at 32, it was way too young to normally get a colonoscopy. And before, at that time, it hadn't come out. Now the community is much more aware that it's getting worse in young adults, and this is a risk factor that needs to be taken seriously when anybody has symptoms. So I went in, I had my colonoscopy, and they found precancerous polyps. So in the community, they call me a previvor. So and for yourself as well, you're a previvor in the sense that you've had something that would have turned into cancer that you were able to get prevented by going through this preventative screening. So that's really the end goal is prevention and early detection. So yeah, after I got my colonoscopy, I called home, and my parents were like, oh yeah, your grandfather had died of colorectal cancer, and you have 2 cousins who passed away of colorectal cancer. But nobody in the family talks about that. They don't I knew that my cousins had passed away, but they didn't say why. I think because there's a stigma around it. They didn't want to talk about it. There's a certain level of shame, which is completely unnecessary and unfounded, but it's in kind of human nature. So we're creating levity and humor through Cheeky Charity to get people to talk about it in a way that reduces that stigma and that opens up the conversation.
Well, so talk to us about, so you you have the walking colon,
Mhm.
but you do a lot of other, you've got support groups, and you've got that would be one of your innovative awareness events, and you do social media campaigns as well. So talk to us about that, that work of, because there is a stigma around that, and I even like for
Mhm.
myself, when you do the pre-questionnaires, and I'm like, well, I don't think that I have these things, but who knows? I might have them because no one in my family ever talks about it. But
Mhm.
talk to you about the campaigns that you're doing to help to raise awareness, so that folks are asking these questions, maybe of their family members, to find out what is in
Mhm.
their history.
Yeah, so I think the big step is, it's funny. I feel like an iceberg model that talks about how the cheeky content is at the very top of that. And so what you're seeing is we'll make a butt joke, or we'll show a butt on in a social media ad or something. And that's kind of the quote unquote easy part. Like anybody can do that. But the question is, how do we translate that into somebody taking action? So we put in specific messaging, or we look at the social media algorithms on how we can get people to stick on to the media a little bit longer. Or if we're at a Pride festival, we will say a funny pun and then lead that into the mission of what we're doing, and ask them pointed questions that gets them to open up about whether they know if they have a family history, if they're due for a screening. A lot of people open up about their GI issues, like Crohn's and colitis, and diverticulitis is like so common right now that we get lots of stories from people coming in. And then we try to get people to make when you go home, you might not want to open that conversation with how was the Pride Festival with like, oh, I talked to a colorectal cancer organization. But you might go and say like, oh, I saw this crazy organization that told me this funny butt joke, or that made me walk through their colon. That's the starter of the conversation. And then from that, it leads to, oh, and like, are you due? And, so it's just the opener. It plants the seed. And we're in the process of getting some research projects started to analyze the efficacy of our work. Our goal is to try to enhance it as best as we can. So we don't have that right now. We're just kind of, doing the best we can, and doing what we're seeing anecdotally that works. And the hope is that I could join this station a year from now, and we'll be going to the conference with more data around how it's actually, the numbers about how it's working.
I am a data nerd. Folks have probably learned over the course of this show. So whenever you've got data, bring it. I love talking about policy and data. I have to fit in a break here. Can you join us again for another segment?
That sounds great.
All right, so we are talking with David Russo, who is the visionary founder of Cheeky Charity, and who will also be at the GLMA conference this weekend here in Minneapolis. We're going to have more with David after this break. You're listening to AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hello, my name is Paul Sheldon. I'm a novelist. My #1 super fan, Annie Wilkes, has me trapped in her house. I need you to come to the Yellow Tree Theater in Osseo, September 26th to October 19th, to get me out. YellowTreeTheater.com. It's misery. Please don't come alone. Hurry, she's coming.
This season, bring the whole family to see Irving Berlin's White Christmas. This smash hit musical based on the classic film returns by popular demand to delight you at Chanhassen dinner theaters. With loads of laughter and a stunning showcase of Irving Berlin songs, White Christmas is a celebration of the romance, friendship, and magic of the holidays. Make your plans today to see White Christmas. Visit ChanhassenDT.com.
There really is no place like home. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Home Health. When you're faced with an illness or an injury, being able to stay at home and receive care is important. Our home health offers a wide range of services, including skilled nursing, physical, occupational, and speech therapies, aides, homemakers, in-home respite care, and 24/7 live-in care. We'll work closely with your primary care provider to come up with an individualized plan for you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
Peace of mind shouldn't cost a fortune. We keep things simple at Schroman Law because we believe planning for your estate and end-of-life care shouldn't be stressful or expensive. Every client relationship starts with a free consultation so clients have the information they need before making important decisions. From there, we work closely with clients to ensure they are choosing the most efficient and cost-effective plans for their specific needs. Schedule a free consultation today at schromenlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. October is here, so Halloween is right around the corner. And if you're thinking of having a horror movie marathon with friends, you better make sure your home doesn't look like something out of one of those movies. Don't ghost your carpet this fall. My cleaning heroes at Zero Res can help get all those spooky smells and creepy stains out of your home. Carpet, tile, rugs, upholstery, hardwood, any surface in your home can be Zero Resified. Right now, you can get your entire home Zero Resified from Minnesota's ultimate carpet cleaner, with 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at just $129. But there's something even scarier than ghosts and goblins hiding in your home, and it's in your air ducts. This month, take 15% off your air duct and dryer vent cleaning service. Don't let a missed deal haunt you. Call 9520-RES or go to ZeroResMinnesota.com today and ask for the AM 950 special. Backorder forward spells the same. Zero Res.
Welcome back to the Gailey Show. We are coming up on the top of the hour. I am John Parker, and I'm here with David Russo, the founder of Cheeky Charity. We're talking to him about Cheeky Charity and also the GLMA conference, premier conference of LGBTQ health providers in all disciplines, who will be in Minneapolis this weekend, Thursday through Sunday. Jim, I think you're still on the phone, and I think you've got a question for David.
Yeah, can you hear me, John?
I can.
Okay. Hey, David, I'm sorry I'm not there. I'm in the Twin Cities, but I'm at home, so I'm not in the studio. But thank you for joining us. I'm curious if there's a role for other people than maybe the individual who we're trying to get to have a screening or take action. Is there something? Do you ever think about messaging for a partner or, I don't know, family members, or is there a way to influence people to take this more seriously and get beyond their embarrassment, rather than just sort of, I know you're being very gentle about it, God bless you, but I wonder if there's something that says, hey, if you've got cancer in your family, you're taking a real roll of the dice here by not taking action, or do people just recoil from that?
No, it's a really good question, and it's something we face a lot when we're interacting with folks at festivals and fairs. Is somebody will come up to us and say, my partner's parent died of colorectal cancer, but they're unwilling to get their screening, and it's one of the toughest things for us to hear. And there's not a whole lot. Obviously, we can't force them. I'd love to, drag them out to get their screening, but we do mention about different options, and. Well, we emphasize, there's, I guess, 2 things. One is statistics, and we will tell them, please emphasize how this is getting worse in young adults. It's really becoming a bit of an epidemic in the sense of, people are getting this at higher rates than ever, especially in the under 50 category, and they don't know why. And then there's predominantly no symptoms. Most cases of colorectal cancer come with no symptoms. So although you might feel healthy, you might look healthy, that's not a reason to avoid a screening. The other thing is that we all talk about different options. So people are saying they're scared of colonoscopies, and it's well, that's the best option because it can detect little polyps before they grow into cancer. There's stool tests that you could do at home. There's something called a fit kit where you basically just scoop some poop into a test tube and mail it in. And there's Cologuard, that's you poop into a bucket and then you mail that in. The Cologuard can actually look for DNA cells of cancer. So it does a really, really good job of finding it. And it's super easy, something you can do in the privacy of your own home. So, if you're a partner, you can potentially even order the fit kit, go to the doctor with them and encourage them to just get a kit, have it on the toilet seat. They say that if you put the stool kit on the toilet seat, you're a lot more likely to do it than if it's sitting on the kitchen table.
I just think it can't be emphasized enough that being proactive about this is really everything, isn't it? I mean, I question how much of it is awareness, even of the subject or of the details, versus like you say, reluctance or refusal to face it or to take action. Do you think those are both equal problems?
I mean, for different communities, it's different. I think a lot of people are not hearing about it. If they're not going into the doctor, they're not going to hear somebody tell them they need their screening unless it's in the media or through friends or through, something like what we're doing. And so that I like to act as that. In marketing, they tell you need to have 7 touch points with a person before they buy, statistically on average. So I think it's actually the same way for healthcare. Their doctor's going to tell them, and then they're going to see it on the TV show, a commercial for Cologuard, and then a friend will tell them they got their colonoscopy. So the more touch points, the better. So we're happy to be one of them.
Well, I'm
just going to share my personal experience because I want to tell this to people. They asked me after my first colonoscopy if, how was that? Are you okay? Like they were worried about me. And I said, I've had dates worse than that. So I think a lot of that is emotional,
No, on that front, I tell people I stay awake.
Irrational fear.
I stay awake for my colonoscopy. Like I don't do anesthesia. And even that, like, because I'm a nerd as well. And I like seeing the screen to know what's happening. And so,
I gotta be knocked out.
Yeah, if you're knocked out, it's that much easier. And propofol is the best sleep of your life. It's 20 minutes, but you feel like you had a 10-hour nap.
Not only is it the best sleep of your life, but eating after a colonoscopy is some of the best meals you're ever going to have.
Yes.
But I want to make sure that we get to, because you also do LGBTQ plus cancer needs surveys. And I want you to tell folks, because we've got just a couple minutes left here and I want to make sure we talk about those.
I really appreciate that. Yes. So right before earlier this year, we were developing a survey for us understanding 2 things. One is people that have not been diagnosed with cancer, what their experience is like with preventative screenings, their knowledge base of those screenings, and for people that have been diagnosed with cancer, for LGBTQ people, what their experiences have been like, what challenges have they faced, what went well, what didn't go well. And as we were developing it, there's another organization that I can't talk too much about, but long story short, their funding got canceled for a survey that they were working on that was very similar. And so we were fortunately able to partner together, and we working alongside of that, we have an amazing community advisory board of over 30 people that have been involved in these surveys for over 2 years. And so between them and us, we were able to get this survey launched. We got it IRB approved and formally established for June.
Great.
So if you go to cheekycharity.org/survey, you'll see more information about both of the surveys. And so any LGBTQ plus person can do it, whether you've been diagnosed with a cancer or not.
Well, I will be doing that because I've never met a research survey that I'm not ready to take or willing to take. So we'll post that in the show notes on our website. We'll also include the link to it on our Blue Sky page. David, this has been such a delight, and hopefully we have to go now, but hopefully we'll see you this weekend.
Looking forward to it. Yeah. Can't wait to see you.
Perfect. The website is cheekycharity.org and the GLMA website is glma.org. All right, folks, for WCPT listeners, Choose Views with Richard Chu is up next. For AM 950 radio listeners, it's the Matt McNeil Show. After that, Native Roots Radio, and then stay tuned to Step into the Unknown with Greg Bakken on Ghostbox Radio at 10 p.m. Central. And until tomorrow, keep it queer, America.
Time is running out. Don't miss Doris Hines closes October 12th at History Theater in St. Paul. This electrifying world premiere celebrates the extraordinary life of Minneapolis jazz legend Doris Hines.